Jonah has a humpback and a huge mole on his brow, but Jonah is not sad. He is young yet, and dreams of marrying an ugly girl from the poor side of the Coosa River. Ugly, yes. Ugly will do fine. Jonah owns land. He has a place out near Tallusahachie Creek, a tributary of the Coosa River, near the town of Ohatchee. He also owns a small boat and goes fishing after dark, when the world is the color of the algae in the backwater, and strange sounds writhe around in the marshes. Jonah's only friend is Theodore Roosevelt Flick, an older black man who lives on a houseboat out in the marshes. Flick, when sober, with his bloodhounds, is periodically employed by the Ohatchee Police Department, finding drowning victims or homicides who have been dumped in the Coosa River for $75 a day. At other times, he is their guest, as he sometimes drinks himself into a stupor and exposes himself to some of Ohatchee's more jaded citizens, who are not so jaded that they no longer take offense. On a certain Sunday, Jonah had left his waterfront domicile and headed in the direction of Flick's home, with the thought of splitting a bottle of Yukon Jack with the old man. He was walking southwest toward the marshes, already dreading the clouds of mosquitoes that wreathed Flick's boat, when he saw her. She was wading in the shallows near the estuary where Cane Creek ran into the Coosa River. She was wearing a t-shirt and white shorts. Both were quite wet. She wasn't ugly. Jonah's first instinct, of course, was to shamble away before the girl could see him, but instead he stood transfixed, watching her, unable to move. When the girl looked up and saw him, she did not react, except with a smile. One foot came out of the water, toyed with the air, went back down into the water. A perfect white little foot. Everything about her was white, like an angel, he thought, except her hair. That was black. Her eyebrows were two perfect little black commas, one rising slightly as she smiled at him. A Bob White called it sad 2 notes from somewhere nearby, close enough to raise the hackles on Jonah's neck. Something stung him on the calf. He absently noted the smell of a snake somewhere nearby. He did not move. The girl was getting out of the water now and moving towards him, saying something, but his ears were full of the roaring sound of his own blood, and now he felt the ice-cold sweat of stark terror leap out onto his forehead. But a pale, delicate hand was extending his way, and the tiny red lips were moving. The girl made a gentle sound in her throat, and her hand, slightly wet but warm and agreeable, was touching him, touching his chest, and his head swam, and he fought to clear his senses, but now the impossible was happening, and she was touching him down there, and his pecker was already as hard as an axe handle, and she was whispering words, soft and musical, and working on his fly. Jonah stood there, terrified, amazed, swaying slightly, not daring to breathe. She got it out of his pants finally, and the whole world took a breath and stood still. Then she said, looks like I was wrong. The other girl said that had a hump on it too. From the nearby trees there came the sound of a raucous chorus of beautiful, awful laughter, and now he saw that 2 other girls hid in the bushes and had been watching the entire proceedings. No. It was too awful. The world was destroyed. Nothing mattered. He ran blindly in a random direction. He ran through briars, marshes, low limbs. He was scratched, struck, tripped, cut, wet. Things stung him, poked him in the face. It didn't matter. He did not care. A fisherman and his son on the opposite shore saw something thrashing in the water near the marshes just after dark and heard terrifying cries. A calf, the man told the boy, has got loose and wandered into a water moccasin bed. It was Wednesday before folks at McBurnet's fruit stand noticed that Jonah had not been around for his weekly grocery shopping. Old Ned mentioned it to his son, Derek, who drove out to the lake that evening. Theodore Roosevelt Flick was called upon Friday morning, and by that evening he was sober enough to get the dogs out. They found the body not too far from Flick's boat. The coroner said there were no less than 30 water moccasin bites on the body. Sheriff Parks, feeling sorry for the old man, made him a gift of the bottle of Yukon Jack, which had escaped calamity. That night, as Flick weaved home full of liquor and grief, he thought he heard laughter from the trees around the lake, but when the moon came out, he saw only its silver reflection on the water, harmless and beautiful.